We're back.
Yes, indeed. How y'all doing?
I'm Jared, by the way.
I am Josh. Good to
It's
be here, my brother.
The yearly tradition of Oktoberfest is
Absolutely.
in your local stores to run out and get it, because even though Burt Leon Reynolds Jr. is swirling above us, I don't drink Coors.
Oh, no. I don't
No.
crack Coors for the working man or the bandit either.
I mean, as much of a tribute as we want to give, I mean, there's limits to what I can do for you.
I should have bought myself a big old tall can of Coors and poured it out and rinsed it and let it detoxify for 3 days and then poured this inside of it so I could pretend that I was drinking one for Burt.
There you go.
It's ridiculous, but I want to throw it out there real quick. We were talking about this at dinner. The helmet decal culture is, I'm okay with it. I've got no problem with it. I think that stuff is cool. Probably my number one favorite story of helmet decal culture is I just forgot his name. Not Cutler. Jake the Snake. Dadgummit, he used to play at Arizona
Plummer.
State. Thank you.
Jake Plummer.
When Jake Plummer was playing for the Broncos and everybody wanted to have Pat Tillman stickers for a week, and now you got to get rid of them. He literally is like, how much do I owe you? And just cut that check. They played together at Arizona State. That was his buddy, and it's like, you want him to yank that sticker off after a week, and he's like, hell no. I ain't even worried about it. What's the fine? I got you. Like, good for him, man.
Ball teams lose somebody, man. That patch is on there all year.
Yeah, seriously.
So,
if you're the owner. Yeah, I mean, the Steelers had the Rooney patch on there forever, but, you know, he was just a player, and then also, I'll just leave it on the surface. But the Pat Tillman story, people that think they want to talk about Pat Tillman don't. They don't.
Yeah.
The right wing don't use him as a hero for a very specific reason, and it's because you do that much scratching. Basically, American Sniper, not the Pat Tillman story. There's a reason one of those got made, and the reason the other one did not.
Yes.
And I veered way off.
Oh, I'm thinking about baseball.
Oh,
patches. I mean, that's like a tribute. And why are you gonna just do it for just a week?
One freaking day, man. One day. And it just, that whole thing sucked. But I did love Jake stepping up and being like, here's your fine, chump.
Yeah.
On top of that, the whole reason we brought it up, Florida State's helmet decal for Burt is the coolest thing ever. That was so awesome, and I'm glad they did it. And
Super tight.
it was a real cool thing, man. So I hate that it didn't work out better for them, but I have a conspiracy theory about Florida State. Maybe we'll get to that later, maybe we won't. But the upside is they got their helmet decal, and it was awesome, and it's been fun having you. For Pete's sake, about said it wrong. Smokey and the Bandit was just on television about a week and a half ago for no reason.
Yep.
And I just sat and watched it for the 800th time. And, man, you talk about that. There's like the diehard wing of the Hall of Fame. What's another one? I always say Josie and the Pussycats, and the people that have seen it know what I'm talking about. But there are these movies that they have like maybe not in Josie's case, but especially Smokey and the Bandit has a rep, and people love it, and it's very popular. And you think it's going to be this one thing. And it is that one thing, but boy, there's a lot more to it as well. That movie is underrated as crap as just being a great, fun, awesome movie, man.
It's got several things going for it. It's a chase movie. It's an action movie. It's a romantic comedy. It's all sorts of stuff.
That's an excellent way to describe it. Is that it being the chase movie with, like, I don't know if I would say Efron level back and forth, but the romance story in it. It ain't Bud and Sissy.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean to make fun of Bud and Sissy. It's just that Deborah Winger got nothing to do in that movie except get punched in the face. I mean, it's just, you could have, it's different. I guess the point is, it's different back then. Well, Smokey's older than Urban Cowboy as far as I know, and they got that one right. But it's so good. I love that movie. And so whenever I found out that Burt passed, it was strange having just hung out with him for a little bit.
Yeah.
I got to go watch Boogie Nights and
Nights.
pretend to drink Coors.
That's one of those dudes. It's kind of, tough to pick the favorite movie.
That's true.
It would really be hard because the Burt when I was coming up, it's like this guy that was on a TV show that everybody told me used to be a big deal in movies, and Evening Shade was awesome.
Yeah.
But I came in. I got to know him more around the Evening Shade Cannonball Run time period.
Yeah.
Hanging out with Dom DeLuise. I was like, this guy was a big deal.
That's your guy.
And, once you get a little bit older and you kind of see the, freaking Deliverance was terrifying. Talk about a movie that's not what it's advertised to be.
Yeah, Deliverance is a very interesting thing to me in the conversation about. I don't mean to veer into horrifying territory, but it's just, I know some people that are okay with Game of Thrones basically being who's getting raped this week, and it's like if it's, I don't know women that feel that way, but if it's guys, it's like. Watch Deliverance one time, buddy.
Yeah.
If you don't quite understand why there are certain people that have a frustration with this being a genre now, check out Deliverance, man. And then read up on
terrifying.
Then read up on Carl Panzram, and you'll find out why you don't. They're never going to make a movie about that guy.
Mm-hmm. So you had the Deliverances of the world,
Yeah,
and,
man.
Smokey and the Bandits, and even Stroke Race. That you kind of go back and watch. Like, man, this dude was awesome, and then kind of had that down period in the 90s that he got to have Boogie Nights there at the end.
Kicked out with Boogie Nights and was in Striptease and
yeah.
As
Striptease was hilarious.
As god awful as that movie is, he is so unbelievably, fantastically wonderful in it. It's worth watching. It's worth trying to get through one time, and then it's worth buying a copy so you can learn the chapters and just bounce to when Burt shows up because he is hilarious.
When he's on the screen, it's worth watching.
Absolutely,
and
man.
Start to finish. If nothing else, if you're going to compare the two, I'd say watch Striptease before Showgirls. I had more fun watching that.
Of course, Striptease. I'm sorry, Showgirls takes itself so seriously, and Striptease was way more into knowing what it actually was.
Yeah,
and just got Burt in it. And he was so funny in that.
And then there was a few years after that he was in. Speaking of bad movies that you probably don't need to waste your time watching, but he was in the remake of Dukes of Hazzard as Boss Hogg and did it awesome. And I remember mentioning that at the time when I went to go see it in a movie theater. It just didn't dawn on me. I didn't know how bad it was going to be yet. But mentioning that he was playing that character and then people having a problem with, he can't play that. He's skinny. Like, he's Burt Reynolds, y'all. Don't worry. It's going to be just fine.
I'm telling you that. And people still do that now with like, well, they can't do Bane because Ben Affleck is 6'6" and Tom Hardy's 5'7", and that would just look stupid. Christian Bale's a lot taller than Tom Hardy too, but they made it look okay, didn't they? And on top of that, did you not see? Are you telling me that you didn't understand the visual effect in Ragnarok with Peter Dinklage, or do you think that they are that good at visual effects on Game of Thrones? Is he really this gigantic guy? I don't know why people even worry about that junk anymore. Robert Downey Jr. is 5'5". Does he look 5'5" in those movies? No. They'll make it work.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. Oh, he's not fat enough. Oh, Burt Reynolds is skinny. He can't be Boss Hogg. Get the heck out of here, man.
It's like it's a different version. That was the version that was on the TV shows, and it was done very well then. So do something else,
man.
And you get a guy like that to say yes, even though he probably was in financial problem at the time. Doesn't matter. He's going to show up, and he made it worth watching.
Seriously, man, it's that same old thing we talk about it all the time. And boy, don't ask anybody because they were talking about this the other day with the imploding White House, and it's like 5 years from now you won't be able to find anybody that will admit they voted for Donald Trump. And it's like, of course, people do that with George Bush now.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. Well, what they were saying was that it was like it'll be Watergate. Because it's like absolutely nobody voted for Richard Nixon. It's like, wow, that's amazing that he got in there twice then, isn't it?
They're all dead. They're all gone.
Seriously, man. So I brought that up for some reason. It was about how people change their minds on stuff and just won't. It's not like you have to claim the mistakes that you've made, but I don't remember what I was going to say, but it doesn't matter because I'm enjoying this beer and enjoying this company, and we sat like shit, man.
I was just talking about, some old Burt movies, and there's still so many that have, people will check off Longest Yard.
Longest Yard is very good. Longest Yard's quite good, but if you've seen the remake, the part where they kill Chris Rock, It's depressing in the new one. It's horrifying in the old one. It's not quite. I mean, it's not like Green Mile horrifying, which I think there's a whole generation of people that have just blocked the Green Mile out of their head. Because if I'm supposed to lose my mind over the Red Wedding, it's like, y'all didn't see the Green Mile when they electrocute the guy without the water? Because, oh baby, it's bad enough to keep you from watching that movie ever again, as good as that movie is.
It's one of those movies that I will see in some people's collections. Like, why do you have this? Why would you ever want to copy this? And I saw it. I never want to see it again.
I can dig it, man. I've got a couple like that too, and they're really good movies. It's not that it ain't good. Like, I think Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is like that. It's very good. I just don't need to see it again. Yeah, I'm totally with you.
Fine. That one time was fine. But you get freaking Hooper. We talked about Deliverance, Malone, and those type of movies that I think. And just talking about Deliverance again, that's just one of those that maybe I could put that one in the Green Mile category. Like, yeah, I saw it.
You're good.
Never again.
Yeah,
It was one of those movies that I had no idea what I was getting into. Like, some guys hanging out on a camping trip, canoeing. Like, why are we watching this? And then it gets to where it gets to, and you're like, this psychological thriller thing going on. You're like, man, what is happening?
How in the world did I even hear about this?
It's like Burt Reynolds goes Predator on everybody.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Burt Reynolds, the Predator.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'd go watch that movie if he was in it. That'd be awesome.
Heck yeah. So, anyway, shout out to Burt.
To Burton.
And
good job on Seminoles for their... It's stupid, but I did love that. I thought it was real cool that they...
It's worth a Google. Go check it out. It's awesome.
It's very, very cool.
I thought that when I heard that was even happening, my first thought that it'd be pretty hard to do the Firebirds, you know, even though it's a tribute. People gonna try to sue you over a mess like that.
It's true, man.
So but it's worth a look at.
Yeah, man. I was thinking they would just do the hat, and they outdid it. It was cool.
The silhouette with a bubble gum.
Oh, Hooper, yeah, Hooper style, yeah. Man, what's the other? Gator. Go Gator McCleskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that one too.
Heck yeah. Do we want to talk about All In?
Let's knock it out, brother.
That was the biggest thing.
Wrestling related goodness
around.
Yeah, man.
You know, so I sat down because I was debating leading up to the show. I was like, I don't have to see that. And then, like, the Friday night before, I was like, yeah, I've got to see that. And wasn't quite sure what the best way to go about watching it would be. So I was thinking, well, maybe just order it on DirecTV. And I was like, I don't want to do that. It just feels like there would be an extra fee or something that I don't want to pay. But it's so easy just to get stuff on your Roku stick, which is how I watch most everything now. And downloaded the Fight app, and it was that whole deal where the initial thing they tried to sell you was the whole StarCast package and everything. Like, I don't need to see all of that. The StarCast stuff is something where if I was able to go and see it live, heck yeah, I'd be down. But just to watch it at home, I'm just like, nah, that's what I listen to the podcast for. I don't want to sit and watch it.
Yeah, man, I'm the exact same way.
And I know a lot of the podcasts that were there and recorded probably did the version that gets put out on their Patreon to make it more exclusive. Like, well, then I don't need to see it anyway. So anyway, got the Fight app, and the initial thing they wanted to see was all the StarCast stuff and the show, and then that was going to be $100,
They wanted to sell you the opportunity to be one of Joey Ryan's mascots.
Oh yeah,
yes, the $10,000 package.
Gonna put you into a drawing.
The $10,000 package, and they literally put little brackets around it.
So got the thing ordered and got it watched, and it was a fun kind of show. So I dug it a whole lot.
Man.
And definitely worth looking into. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's a dang good show. There's got to be a way to probably see what was on WGN before, but somebody might have put that on YouTube by now. Who knows?
Yeah,
it's got to be out there somewhere.
Yeah,
So check that out. Then check out the All In show, and you'll, have yourself a good time.
Have yourself a good time. Yeah, I've been derelict to my duties. I still haven't seen it, but if I ever figure out, if I find it, I will come back and I'll leave a comment and explain. Okay, this is what I did, so you guys go watch it too.
Yeah.
Because all I've done is read a bunch of reviews and seen a couple of things on YouTube, and I'm sorry, Instagram. But I'm not matches. It's just like here's this. Like the sequence from the main event, a lot of people have been putting that out there to just show folks what was going on, and it's pretty sweet, man.
Yeah.
But I was in the exact same boat that J Rad was in. I had two things happen. The first one, I just never. If you go back, if you've seen the show, then like we talked about I'm a Briscoe's mark. I am such a fanatic for those guys that when they said they're on the free part, I'm like, sweet, so that worked out really well. And I did watch that and really enjoyed it. And I liked the SCU costumes. I thought all that was fun. And it's strange too, because I've told the man, and we'll get to that in a moment, because it seems kind of stupid to say, oh, Rocky and Apollo, that was so neat, because being the elite stuff is just, being the elite's great. It's just not my thing. Yeah. So I don't. And I understand that's where they started the whole thing, them in Philly running steps and stuff like that. It's cool. All that was fine. And that match was fun. We talked about the Battle Royal, which I'm glad so many people liked it. I don't think that I saw what they saw. And I'm probably just bitter because Flip won the thing, and I do not like that guy. So that's probably all it is. I'm just ill that he got to lay outside the ring for 5 minutes and then win the Battle Royal. But at the same time, if you're going to bring him back later that night and he's going to wrestle Jay Lethal in what was apparently a pretty doggone good match. Everything I hear about it was the theatrics before and during, but it wasn't really the match itself. At the same time, ROH Championship match, I don't think that they had 4 minutes. So, letting him, don't blow him up in the Battle Royal and then ask him to go work a championship level match. So that totally makes sense, and it works, and it's very smart. But I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I kind of missed the, I don't know. Maybe people like Billy Gunn doing the suck it thing a little more than I did, because it's like, okay.
We've seen this
for many years now, for a long, long time. But anyway, unfortunately, those are the only 2 matches I can discuss. I can tell you, poor Jared's had to hear this all during dinner, I can tell you that I've had enough of people trying to blame Marty Scurll and Kazuchika Okada for the short main event. I mean, 12 minutes for that main event, you had to know what happened. They ran long, it's a problem. I did not see it. And of course, I'm just going on gut and emotion and what I think. But to get huffy that Kazuchika Okada and Marty Scurll had a long match, let's forget the fact that Marty has said they were scheduled for, I think, 24 and they went 25 or something like that. Yeah. Forget that. A wrestling match ran long, and you have a problem with that cutting into the main event. But we're totally okay with a TV star that's Cody Rhodes' buddy getting his debut match and resurrecting Joey Ryan from the dead. Yeah. People dig that stuff. That's all good. It just seems to me that cutting that crap out to me seems a lot more. I know I would much rather have seen the main event with more time than those things, as opposed to, okay, Kazuchika and Marty, you got 8 minutes, get it done. That seems a lot more. That would frustrate me a lot more. And I hate that the main event got cut short. I hate it, but there just seems like if you got fat to trim, it seems like there's a lot of other things you could have done instead. Especially like the man was telling me. It's not like Hangman Page and Joey Janela was over and done with. Yeah, it was long anyway. So you're going to tack on all that theater stuff afterwards. Like, you need time for that. And no offense to Stephen Amell, but bye. Yeah. My other thing with that also is, man, if you're getting your TV star,
I forgot he was even on the show until it happened.
If you're getting the TV star on the show, why not put him on the free TV portion? Yeah. Way more people can see it. Well, whoa, oh my God, Green Arrow, what is going on here? And then you pick up your phone and you order the pay-per-view. Yeah. That's what I thought anyway. That just seemed like you could have made better use of that time. Now I say that, and if they had cut the Briscoe short to do that, I'd have been furious. But at the same time, I feel bad. The main event got chopped, especially. I mean, it got eviscerated. I think it was supposed to be 26 minutes, and they got 12. Yeah. But it just seems incredibly either lazy to just look one match back and be like, oh, well, that's what messed the show up, or to, as I fear,
it's the only reason they do it.
It seems to me that people have decided now that we can't hate Hangman Page anymore. Marty Scurll has to be that Bullet Club guy that we don't like, because I'm not a sheep. I don't like just any old thing Bullet Club. It's not just I'm different. I have my own mind, and I have the Bullet Club member I don't like. And it's Marty Scurll now. Are you sure about that? it's all good. I love Marty myself, and if Okada was right, so what? Who cares, man?
Yeah.
That's cool. I've loved Marty.
Gotta pay off. And one of the things that was odd about the setup is they had like the ramp, and then there was like it looked like 4 or 5 steps down to the floor, and so you had the whole Bully Ray run in, and he was the one that I noticed it the worst about. 'Cause everybody would walk down the ramp and do the little steps down, but it's not his fault. He's got, a leg problem, but it looked awkward when he's doing the run in. When he gets to the end of the ramp, he has to waddle down the steps. Like, oh, y'all should have fixed that. Put a ramp, something there. And it was another problem in the Hangman Page match where they did the whole throw into the table off of the ramp. And Joey Janela, he did like that Raven thing from the old ECW tape I had where his kind of head banged up against the corner, and like he did not get near enough of it, and you set up 2 of them. So if you can't do it better than that, probably don't need to do it.
Yeah, it reminded me that was one of the clips I saw too, and they barely just clipped the table, and that's so much worse for the guy taking the bump because there's nowhere to distribute that. It's like it just makes you feel bad when you see it. And it reminded me of Cody Omega that we talked about, man. I mean, you got like the great ladder superplex and all that's good, but man, when they threw Cody through that table, he ate it. I mean, it was all neck, man. I'm like, oh God, I just stuff like that makes me feel bad for those dudes, man.
It's like, considering usually whoever's going to take it is the one that sets up the tables. I would put them things, all you have to do is drop me off the edge of it. You don't have to project me or nothing.
For real. And Hangman got a good javelin on him, and he still didn't get there. I'm like, oh, yeah, or it seemed like he did anyway.
There was a lot of guys that night. Was the first, after hearing the names for so long, it was the first time I'd ever seen Joey Janela. I wouldn't have been able to pick him out of the lineup. I heard the names, heard the shows that he has done WrestleMania weekend, and never got to actually see him in a match, and I was pleasantly surprised with that. It was my first time getting to see Ethan Page, and he was in the Battle Royal, and I was like, all right, I can get behind that. So and there were a lot of pleasant surprises, and one of the biggest ones I could think of comes from the women's match, and it was Chelsea Green. I'd heard that name a lot around WrestleMania time, and saw some of the photos. I was like, this looks Kelly-ish to me. Like, why is everybody so into her? And then she shows up in that match, and it's actually a character doing kind of like the split personality thing. I was like, all right, this is pretty good. And
that sounds good to me, man.
Another thing, you talk about stuff that can get cut, is you have Tully Blanchard, Tessa Blanchard there with Tully and Magnum TA. They meet her on the ramp to give her the hug and wish her luck on the way down. They walk her down, then they have to do the hug again before she gets into the ring. It's like, I mean, once is enough.
Yeah,
just do that.
We talked about that with like factoring in like ring time and stuff like that, man. For the shows like that, I mean, if you're gonna freak out about how, hey guys, we got pyro, factor in that walk too, man, because entrances have always been a big deal, but I really think that, I know Sean had some pretty elaborate entrances, but Hunter has turned those things into an art with NXT, and it's spilled over, and a lot of other people are doing them now too. It's just factor that in, factor that kind of stuff in. I hate to say that, but again, it's just, if we're gonna go buck wild bananas crazy that the Bucks got cut in half, all right, but there's a lot of factors to this.
Not only did they have the entrances, a lot of the entrances had like video packages along with it. They're like, just trim that just a little bit.
You don't need that.
Cody walking to the ring with the whole Nightmare family and with his Goldberg entrance. It's like, and Nick had the same thing because they had to have the 2 teams going at each other like old school style. And then Marty walking to the ring had the being the elite point and finger guys stopped him, and it was cool because that was his way to stop him and break the fingers. But it felt like it was like, okay, this is
especially if you've got
a
the
joke
spot.
that's been.
Well, if you've got the spot worked into the match too, because I thought the Okada 205 Rainmaker hand thing is so good. Don't do that. I haven't even seen the entrance, and that's something else too, man. Is Marty Scurll's entrance takes forever because it's
Yeah.
awesome, but it's
Yeah.
like you don't need to stop, man. That's no good.
So that it was the payoffs and the not 205, the being the elite tie-ins
Yeah.
that kind of like, I mean, y'all are, it's everybody's fault for this thing going over, and if the guys have been around shows long enough to know, we need to pace this a little bit better, know what to cut and move stuff around. But just you can't blame just one dude for it.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
It's
particularly when
That's dumb.
if you find out that they were given the time they got and they went a minute over. But anyway, I think
That
it's
sounds
because
dang good to me.
I think a lot of people, no kidding, especially if you had a 6-month entrance of him breaking folks' hands. But
Mm-hmm.
I think, excuse me, I just think it's that people have caught on to Marty's probably the next one out the door, so we have to shun Marty. That's fine, man.
Okay, whatever.
I wouldn't mind if Marty left. I mean, 205 is a disaster, but Marty Scurll is made for. We talk about it all the time, man. There are certain people that you hear about them going to WWE and it bums you out, except that it's their call. But then there are other people whose abilities and whose skill set and what makes them good. It's like, oh yeah, that guy will be a star. CM Punk being the first one. When you saw that guy in Ring of Honor back in the day, which everybody says they have now, and just ask if they can. Just ask. Mm-hmm. If you know the Raven stuff, then. That stuff is great, by the way, if you actually want to see CM Punk when he was worth a damn, and what I mean by that is I hated WWE CM Punk. It's not his fault. That's just not my style. There are very few guys that can work Vince's style that I like. It's just because Vince McMahon and I have very different things that we like. We just like different stuff. AJ Styles is very, very good. I don't like all of the, that's my wife and my baby, but that's just me. I'm not. It's the same thing with the Randy Savage and the Brandy Elizabeth stuff. Look, man, it's very, very funny, but that's why I was never as big a Randy Savage guy as I was supposed to be, because I'd already eat Slim Jims, and also I just don't like all that Days of Our Lives stuff. It's just so overdone and so dramatic. And I shouldn't say that, because all that is like Dusty Rhodes' brainchild stuff, and I love Dusty, but it's like that's just not ever really been my thing. So but at the same time, it's a very funny tribute to Savage, because that was his thing. We talked about it, like WrestleMania 9, which everybody, I think it was 9, everybody trashes and goes crazy because, oh man, Hulk and Sid Vicious, and it was so bad and la-di-da. Savage Flair is unbelievable, except for the 60 hours they stay outside the ring. When they finally get back in there and get going, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome, man. Anyway, got way sidetracked on that mess, and I shouldn't talk about a show I didn't watch. I sound like Cornette now, man, where it's all like, well, I don't even keep up with it now, but I can tell you Joey Ryan is 5'10", and it's like, and I'm with you on like Joey Janela. It's just a name that I keep seeing pop up. And I guess my excitement with him and Hangman Page is that people that do know both of them were freaked out happy that it was happening. So that's awesome.
It was really good.
Yeah, man.
Sound like I'm trashing it with the
No,
throw.
it's just,
But
you feel bad.
There was some cool spots with it doing the crap on the ladder, and then the finish off of the ladder through the table was like, it was one of those kind of things that the second I saw it, and I don't like that feeling of like everything he goes through, like, oh God, I hope he's okay.
Yeah,
oh
man.
God, I hope he's okay.
Yeah, that was the point again about the lawn dart spot. Is I shouldn't say that because people do that move now, but yeah, when he hit that table off the ramp, you just feel bad. Like, God, I hope he's okay, and I hope that I hope he bought stock in Advil, because that mess is gonna hurt like a dang, man. You just feel bad for people. I'm with you.
That was my initial review of the shows. Like, it felt to me like from the NWA title match on, I felt like everything was really, really good. It felt like, where the gas was being pushed. Like, now we're going somewhere. Because as much as I'm not calling everything before it bad. It's just like, I don't think it's the end all be all that you've heard it is, and it kind of, it may be on another show, but I felt like everything from that point on was what I what I had expected, and was even more impressed to see.
Most of the reviews and stuff, the consensus, I guess, of the reviews that I've read of it were that Cody and Aldis were very, very good, particularly for what they were trying to do. They were trying to have, an NWA heavyweight championship match in 2018. I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty lofty and good for them. But it's like the first wave of reviews was what you're talking about. It's, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever, and oh man, no one will ever top it. No, it's the best thing I've ever seen, la-di-da. And it's all from people that were in the building and all from people that were happy to be part. It's Meltzer. It's what I always say about Dave Meltzer. Meltzer reviews stuff, shows that he's at, it affects him. And that's okay, but it's like...
It does me too, but I don't do... I don't get paid to review stuff. So
yeah, I don't either. I've seen a couple of things where the crowd really was. I'm with you. I've seen a couple of things where the crowd had a super strong effect, and then I've seen other things like most of the stuff that we've seen that both of us love. It was crickets during the match. It was nobody cared. Like the best professional.
If I'm doing a review of something I was there, I'll at least mention it and tell you like. I might be a little bit biased.
Absolutely,
but this was freaking good.
It was awesome.
Or it was not.
Yeah, man. It was the coolest moment I've ever seen that the crowd completely affected was when Edge came back for the Royal Rumble. That was a blast, and we all knew it. We all knew what we were there for, and that was just awesome because...
It came late.
Yeah,
so it was kind of like, man, is this going to happen or not? And then it finally did. Like, oh, my God.
It was very cool because we were afraid we were going to get Bryan Danielson there for... No, that happened later, but still.
The predated.
Yeah, man. But the best matches I've ever seen in my life are like, this is 1,000 years ago. I was just a kid, man, but I had gotten tickets for the Omni show for my birthday, which is awesome. And so we're there for the Christmas show, and this is like 90 or 91. I was like 11 or 12. I was pretty young, man. And so I understand that it's different when you're younger. But Juice and Liger and Brian Pillman wrestled for the WCW. I think it was light heavyweight title at the time, and just even that was incredible. That one, and then the Dudley Boys versus Venus and don't say Lance Storm. Sorry, that it was a tag match that we saw. It was like a bumper before a pay-per-view, and they wound up putting on Velocity or something like that. And it wound up as we talked about it before, man. It's one of the bonuses on WrestleMania 20.
Up to Mania 20.
Yeah, it's one of the bonuses on that DVD, and man, it was so awesome. And it was just us. I mean, there was like 9 people that gave it on, and we loved it, man. And then there was another one of the pay-per-views we went to, and I might be incorrect about this, but I'm pretty sure it was Molly Holly and Victoria. And this was during the peak era of women's matches or the toilet break, and man, you didn't want to miss that one. It was really good, and I think the reason I think it was them was because we knew we liked both of them, and we knew that it was something we were excited about. So we stuck around because hey, if it's Victoria, I'm going to be there, and if it's Molly, I'm going to be there, and I'll bring my clone with me if I can.
That might have been a Raw or SmackDown.
Could have been. It could. I'm horrible about keeping up with what show was what, so it very well could have been.
One of the women's matches I remember that I saw live and was probably still has to be one of the best ones that I've seen live was it was at Backlash, and it was Mickie James and what was her name, Melina?
Yeah.
That one I remember being very, very good.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
And worth a look if you haven't seen it. Backlash, like 2000.
Backlash 1,000 years ago.
8 or 9, something like that. So that one's worth a look.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, those are my favorite live matches, and then also Mysterio Undertaker live was a lot of fun. They really did well because it's Mysterio and the Undertaker.
It went in, with kind of like, well, it's Mysterio Undertaker. I don't know why. I'll be surprised if it's good, but I'm just gonna get through this. But it was in a time when I just kind of like wasn't into Mysterio. And they ended up being very, very good and worth a look.
Ray is one of those weird magician wrestlers where we talk all the time about Rob Van Dam style wrestlers and stuff like that, and we'll get to that in a moment when we do our like fantasy dream card stuff. Because RVD is a guy that's so much fun and so different and so unusual, and that being the case, you can see matches of his that will blow you away and matches of his that just make you want to pull your eyes out of your head depending on who he's working with. Yeah. Mysterio, I would always put in that category, except that whatever that extra gene is that guys have that just get it, that just understand pacing and structure and how to move along and how to work with other various, different styles. And it's weird because for Mysterio as a babyface, it's just Ricky Morton syndrome, where you just sell and sell and sell, and then you fight back and everything is all good. Which, Ricky never fought back. He tagged in Robert, and then they fought back. It's why I always liked it better in tag matches, because hulking up, and it's Kobashi too. I love Kobashi, but getting your ass beat for half an hour and then just, no, I'm gonna come back and win. It's wrestling. It doesn't need to be illogical. It's superhero stuff. But if you tag in a guy that's been fresh, it's a little easier to believe that he's gonna come in and whip the crap out of these two guys than that Ricky Morton is just gonna kip up and be like, it's enough, beautiful baby. It's time for me to whip your butt Tennessee style, baby. And so it's stupid, but that's one of my logic things about tag wrestling. Anyway, I don't remember what I was talking about, but it doesn't matter anyway. But yeah, Ray has that. He's always been so good at like structure and just bringing the story along. And for somebody with such an unusual offensive moveset, I don't expect that from anybody who is more well known for their offense, because you just expect them to go out and just do a bunch of moves. Yeah. And they do a lot of moves, but guys and it's not that Rob Van Dam didn't know how to do that. It's just Mysterio's better at it. It's one of the things I think is really underrated about the Young Bucks too, because the Young Bucks, they're just a bunch of trapeze artists out there just doing that gymnastic stuff. And that's not untrue. But when you watch them work matches, the matches are a lot of fun. They're quite good. I like them better as heels. I think everybody does. But Matt Jackson in the role of Ricky, oh God, my back, Morton, has worked. It's very, very good, man. So I just think that's real cool. And it's kind of like with a guy like Floyd Mayweather or a guy like, I always use Bonds as an example, which people love because of all the steroid stuff. But I'm talking about pre-steroid Barry. But when you're that good at something, like Mayweather's the best example in the world. When you are that naturally gifted at something, you sit around waiting for someone to come and knock that guy's teeth down his throat because he's going to take his foot off the gas. He's going to get cocky and he's the champ and he just gets too fat and comfortable being champ. And he doesn't. The guy just works. It's weird to be that talented and then continue to work. Mm-hmm. It's weird. I think that Cristiano Ronaldo's like that too. Everybody that's ever played with Ronaldo says that he's like that, where he's this naturally hand of God talented player, but he's first in the locker room, first in the gym, first on the pitch, never leaves, always works, and that's an interesting thing. And having that combination of work ethic and natural ability reminds me of insane offensive moveset, but you get it too. Shawn Michaels is a guy like that, which is weird to me because Shawn Michaels' moveset, when you break it down, I mean, people act like the guy was the original indie darling. He's really not. I mean, Shawn Michaels is an elbow drop, a kip up, skin in the cat, sweet chin music, flying forearm like Mexican, like lucha style. Mm-hmm. What else does he do? He sells the crap out of everything that everybody does to him and makes his matches are super entertaining and super structured. And it's like, this is awesome, man. So I love stuff like that. I like guys that really can do both. And Mysterio, sorry to keep repeating the point, but it took me a long time to appreciate it. I wasn't a huge Rey Mysterio fan. And then eventually I got to the point where I could see it. And I'm like, this is incredible. And working with The Undertaker, and then the Jericho stuff, we talk about all the time. That feud with Jericho for the Intercontinental title is about as good as either one of those guys ever were. And yes, that includes now. I know Jericho's a religion now, but I'm telling you, his stuff with Ray is glorious.
Cool.
Glorious, man, because they liked each other. And it was neat, too, because it's a cool way for Chris to do a tribute to Mexican wrestling, because it is where he really broke. And it's like, that's freaking awesome. What a cool thing, man.
That was the time with that Jericho and Mysterio feud, and even the Mysterio Punk feud. I was like, are they really going to take his mask off? It's like, why would they do that? I'm glad they never did.
Yeah, man.
It felt like they were hinting at that around that time period. I was like, why would you do that?
Yeah, WCW tried that.
Yeah, they did it. They even made a figure of it, and there's no point to do it again.
You do not need that. I agree. You don't need that mess. And then when you pay it off in the Jericho match, going full-on tribute to Lucha, where he snatches it off his head and Ray's done. I can't fight anymore. It's more important that I protect my face. That is, they do that all the time, and it's like, God, what a cool thing, man. I'm with you. I love that series so much, man.
Yeah.
That and Benoit and Angle. I know, Benoit Angle is tough to watch now, but that is what got me back into wrestling, because I kept hearing about those guys, and I finally went and watched it, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Because I loved Chris Benoit from, basically, I dropped out of wrestling basically when the Radicals became the Radicals and went to WWE. It's always been the same. It's not a John Cena thing. It's a Vince McMahon thing. I'm not a Vince guy. I never have been. I grew up on the NWA. I knew WWF was a thing. I always liked the NWA better. It's just a style thing. It's all it is. So Vince and I have never agreed on pro wrestling. But I just dropped out because Dean Malenko was my favorite of those dudes anyway. And so I'm done with this. But then Benoit. I'm like, oh yeah, Benoit, I know him. That's cool, man. And Kurt Angle you'd heard about because of the Olympics and all that. Okay, well, cool. I'll check this out. And it blew me away when I saw it. Like, oh, I'm back now. So
man.
I missed a lot of the Attitude Era is what I'm trying to tell you. What would be categorized as the Attitude Era.
There was a phone call that came from you, and that was back in the day when you could go and they had their deal with Hooters.
Yeah.
It was the Royal Rumble 2003.
Yeah, buddy.
And it was the man got on the phone and was like, man, Angle and Benoit are doing a match at the Rumble tonight. You want to go watch it? And I was like, and I would, yeah, you could pretty fairly say that I got away from it when I graduated. It was like the height of the Nitro parties going on and junk like that. So I was heavy into it in those years that, wandered away. And this is a few years off and coming back and, been on it hard and heavy ever since.
Yeah, I can dig it, man. I ventured from Angle Benoit, stuck around for a bit, really, really did get turned off by the Cena Orton era. I just wasn't into that. And I had ventured over and heard about, man, you got to CM Punk and Samoa Joe. You got to see this thing. So, and I'd heard of Ring of Honor only from going to like media play and stuff like that because they always had the disc and stuff like that. I thought Ring of Honor, I assumed it was like an
MMA
thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I thought it was at first. I just didn't research it or anything like that. And then I started watching the Punk Joe feud, which I do love. I think the first one's the best one's just my opinion. No offense to Uncle Dave, who says the second one's the best match of all time, but guess who was in the crowd that night? I still like the first one better. And they are still really good. But what happens with a guy like Punk is when you watch all the old Ring of Honor stuff, he was the mic guy. It's the reason that, because his in-ring performance was, compared to most of the guys on that roster, nothing special. But he knew what he was doing for like structure, and he was real good at talking them into the building. So it's like, okay, that's the guy. That's the guy. Remember, me and Chacho used to talk about it. He said the same thing to him. I'm like, man, here's the matches with these three guys. Check them out. And so we got talking like Punk or Joe, and he's like, who's going first? I'm like, oh, Punk will be WWE first. And he's like, yeah, I think so too, because he can talk. I'm like, yep, that's exactly it. That's totally what it is, man. But seriously, if you're interested in old Punk stuff, the Joe stuff is great, but the Raven stuff is some of the best stuff that he ever did. It's so good, and it's really very talk heavy and it's very interesting because now we talk so much about taking this little bit from Memphis and this little bit from Florida and putting them all together. Man, they were totally doing that stuff because if Ghetto is in love with Memphis wrestling, Raven built the church because that's just his thing. So it's like, man, anything that Raven's in control of or is out there calling, he's going to bring that into it, and he did, man. It was awesome. Like the whole thing, they did that whole thing. I don't remember who it was now, man, but it was somebody that Punk was feuding with, and they handcuff him to the rope and start pouring beer on him and stuff like that. Dude, that was Raven and Punk years ago. They started the whole straight edge thing, and it was neat. Jericho talking about how he wanted to do the tattoo thing. And somehow they convinced Vince that it'd be so, well, there's going to be blood involved. We can't do that. And it's like, it's shocking to me that the blood of a tattoo is that's what you think is bothersome. Yeah. That somebody else giving you a tattoo that you do not want. I can't believe the psychology of that was just lost on him. He didn't get that at all. And it's like, that's some serious stuff. But again, no offense to Jericho, but full credit to Raven. It's the same thing. This straight edge guy who wears the X's on his hands and it's the basis of every promo that he does. You start pouring beer on the guy. Oh man, that's good stuff, man. So good.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man.
So talking about Jericho, that was one of the other things that came out of the All In show, and what you really need to do is go check out his podcast. He sat down and talked with one of his buds. I think it was this past Friday or Thursday, whenever it comes out, and just what went into that day of getting from the first show to that match to his show he played later that night just sounds like the worst day ever.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, man. They're all being the elite guys are going to sign with Vince. They're going to sign with Vince, and you try to explain that creative control is more valuable to some people. That's creative control. When you
Yeah.
literally map it out, like, oh, we're playing Kansas that night. It's not, we've got a private plane waiting for us. We
Yeah.
could pull this off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it ain't cheap. It's not like you could just do that. But he worked for Vince for a long time and saved his money, and you do whatever you want to. But apparently, he performed that Topeka show in makeup. He still
Yeah.
had it on. Like, yeah, that's awesome, man.
They get into that in the stories. Like he, thought about taking it off. He's like, but then now they made the announcement like this is part of the history.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, I think that's great, dude. It's very cool for Chris to show up. I think it's a very, maybe not subtle. I thought it was a cool way to put Pentagon over too. I get it. You dress up like the guy he's wrestling, but it's Pentagon, and it was cool. He was neat talking about that. Like, I had to go and I was hanging out just at the show and just staying hidden, and I got to dress up like Pentagon, which was kind of cool. And I just thought that was awesome for him to put that over too. Because again, Pentagon's very, very good, but also the history and like folklore around Mexican wrestling, he would totally get that. He was Hulk Hogan there. I mean, he would totally get that. So I think that's really cool that he appreciates it and likes incorporating that into what he's doing. I'm like, God dang, that's super cool, man.
It's like how they're quick to, not make it sound like they're talking crap about Pentagon in the story when, but they're putting everything together. Like, tell him to bring an extra costume get up gimmick thing, and he shows up with a black one and a silver one. It's like, and then at least they were quick to point out like, well, do you have two of the same color of your stuff? Like, well, that's fair. But
Exactly.
it was the whole story of running out to Home Depot to find the stuff to get back, to get it painted, to get it dried in time, and the whole time they're like ruining this guy's gear, and they're like, well, we'll pay you for it, and then not only that, and auction this crap off to some stupid mark.
Yeah, seriously, man. He went Ricky and Robert on it, man.
Yeah.
He took his little battle flag and signed it and sold it to somebody for $10. There you go. Pentagon armor, $10.
That crowd, StarCast still had another day the next morning, so tell them what you could have got for that junk.
Yeah, seriously, man.
So, but that is just a fun, and at the same time, I'll be the first to admit that when I saw what happened in the ring, I wasn't 100% convinced that it wasn't CM Punk at first. When the lights came on, kind of like, who is that? And then he gets up and like, I got it eventually, but it took me a minute. It took me longer than I'd like to admit.
Yeah, man.
So, because I think everybody was waiting for that moment, like who's gonna show and who's not gonna show and stuff like that.
See, that was my one thing about that, is everybody losing their minds about how unexpected and la-di-da it was. And I'm with you. It's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad they pulled it off. But I just, I don't know. I'm not saying I knew it would be Jericho. I didn't know what they were going to do. I'm not really sure what's going on with it. I know that Evil is now back in the New Japan promos, literally calling him out to defend the IC title. So apparently they are looking to resurrect that sooner than, I don't know if that was just the rumor that I'd heard, was they wanted to kind of diminish it for a little bit, just because, man, there's so much going on. And if you just diminish it for the G1, no problem, man. That's all good. But I think that with perhaps losing your light heavyweight champion, and I know they'll put that belt on somebody else, but at the same time, you had plans for that guy. Those obviously got shelved, so maybe they want to bring the sucker back. I still like our idea for the Jericho's the best. That's my favorite idea, which is what they would do. But I just don't know if they're going to do that or not, because I mean, Evil beating up Chris Jericho, I get it, but I don't know. That one feels more like a successful defense for Chris. Maybe I could be totally wrong about that. And I know that Evil is where they eventually want to get that belt, and if they want to sow discontent within LIJ, you could do it that way. But I just haven't seen anything out of Los Ingobernables lately they're not using them. They're not doing anything with those guys. So it's like, I don't know. It just seems like you would need to build them back up a little bit first, and you just throw them in there with Chris Jericho, and Jericho beats him, and then I don't know. I don't know where they're going with that.
Yeah, man.
But I know that's what they want. They want Evil and they want Jericho. I don't know if it's what they want or not. It's what Evil wants.
Yeah.
Evil's talking about it in his promos.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What to see? It's a bummer, man. I feel bad for LIJ, because that's my favorite thing in wrestling, period. But I just it's not booking. People get all huffy. Well, it's because they didn't let Naito win the belt. No, this is not Connecticut. Thank God they don't move the belt around every 6 weeks just because somebody else is getting cheered. Don't do that. I've got no problem with Naito not being the champion. I think they got Von Erich a little bit, man, because people are people are hurting over Hiramu, man. That was awful. It was bad. So
Yeah.
it just makes you feel kind of bad. I guess that's where I'm at. I'm just speaking for myself. But anytime I see any of them, the first thing I think is, man, is Hiramu okay? How's Hiramu doing? It's stupid, but that's the first thing I think. And then it's like, okay, now you can watch this match and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, man, that's what's going on.
That's exactly what's happening today.
Y'all be cool.
Take it easy, y'all.
All right.